Hello guys, and welcome to another tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to be creating a mouse look script. I have gone ahead and created a scene with a character in it. The first thing we need to do is take the camera and nest it within the player. Then what we want to do is reset the transform of the camera so that this way it's right on top of the player. And then what we want to do is focus on the player. Click on the camera and take it and drag it right on top of the player. And let's kind of look at this. All right, that's pretty good. To achieve mouse look, what we want to do is rotate our player on the y-axis, and then we rotate our camera on the x-axis. So for example, if you choose your character and you go to the rotation and you rotate on the Y, you can see that the camera is changing and looking around. And then if you go to the camera and rotate the X, it should look up and down. So what we want to do is we want to mimic this by using script and using the input system. The next thing we need to do is create a mouse look script. So go in the mouse look folder, right click and create a C# script. We're going to call this one mouse look script. And then you can open that with your favorite text editor. Alright, so what I'm going to do is add this to a namespace. And then I'm going to go ahead and just clean this up for now. Now let's create some variables. So for this, we're going to create some regions. One for the public fields and one for private fields. Alright, so let's create some variables, but for that, let's actually create some headers. So the first thing we want to do is one for mouse lock, and then we can copy this and paste. The next one is going to be for camera field of view. And then we're going to have the camera X settings. So camera rotate X settings. All right. And then we can also have the mouse smoothing. So mouse smoothing. For the mouse lock, we're going to have a public boolean is mouse locked. For the field of view, we're going to have a public boolean is field of view enabled. Next, we're going to have a float. This one, camera field of view min, and we also need one for the max. So I want to know what our minimum field of view is going to be and our maximum field of view is going to be, so we can actually zoom, and we can just change this to max. Then we also need to know how much to increment our field of view by. For this, we're going to have another float. And this is going to be called field of view increment. All right. For camera rotate X settings, we're going to have a public float camera rotate X min. And we're also going to have a camera rotate X max. For mouse smoothing, we're just going to have a float. And let's call this one mouse smooth. All right, so let's create some private variables. We're gonna have a private float m underscore mouse x, another one for mouse y, and then we need to create another one for rotation. So this one's going to be m rotate x. Then we need to go ahead and get one for the mouse scroll. So this is going to be another float. This is going to be m mouse scroll. Then we need one for the parent of the object. So this is going to be of type transform. And we can call this one parent. And then we need the one for the field of view. This is just going to hold the field of view when we start the scene or start the game. This is going to be field of view. Now let's go ahead and save our script, and then let's go back into Unity. We're going to take our mouse look script and drag it and drop it on the camera. All right, now let's go back into our script. Let's add 2 more regions. One for the Unity routines and one for helper functions. Before we proceed, we're also going to need access to our camera. So we're going to call this one M camera. Then we're going to need the start or awake. So I could use the awake. And then you're also going to need the update. In the awake method, we need to initialize some fields. The first is going to be the camera. It's going to equal to camera.main. Then we need to do one for the transform. So the parent is going to equal to transform.parent. And then we need to get the initial field of view. So we're going to say that if m underscore camera is not equal to null, then let's grab the field of view for the camera. So I'm going to say that m field of view is going to equal to m underscore camera dot field of view. Next, let's create a routine for handling mouse inputs. The first one we need is the mouse X. We're going to say m underscore mouse X is going to equal to input dot get access, and we're going to get mouse X. Then we're going to do the same thing for mouse Y. So m underscore mouse Y is going to equal to input dot get access, and we're going to do mouse Y. And then we need one for the scroll. So I'm going to say m underscore scroll is going to equal to input dot get axis, and this is going to be mouse scroll wheel. All right. And then what we want to do is we want to multiply this by the smoothing. Right. Next, we can call our mouse inputs in the update. Say mouse inputs. And now we're able to collect our mouse input. We need to go ahead and implement another subroutine to handle rotating our player on its y-axis. Let me demonstrate. We can click on our player game object and then go to the transform and rotation and then the y. And when we go ahead and increase the value, we can see that the player is rotating, but the camera is also rotating with the player because it's a child of the player. So let's go ahead and implement this functionality. Let's write another subroutine called rotate player Y. All right, so what we're going to do is take the parent and then we're going to use the rotate function, and we're going to rotate this in the y direction. So this is going to be vector 3 dot up, and then what we're going to do is multiply it by mouse x. Next, let's call our rotate player Y. Rotate player Y, and now you need to go back into Unity and go under our camera, and we can scroll down and see what's on our script, right? And what we want to do is we want to change the smoothing to about 12. Now let's hit play. Next, we need to write another subroutine to handle rotating our camera on the x-axis. Let me go ahead and demonstrate. Go to a camera and go to rotation, and you want to rotate on the x-axis so you can actually look up and down. But what we want to do is we want to actually clamp this value so that we don't look behind us like this, right? So we need to clamp this 90 and negative 90 degrees, all right? So I'm going to go back here and reset this to 0. And let's go ahead and implement this. Let's write a subroutine for handling our camera rotate X. The first thing we're going to do is take our m underscore rotate x variable. We're going to plot equal to m underscore mouse y, because we're going to be using the up and down directions for the mouse, or up and down coordinates. And then what we're going to do is take our m rotate x and we're going to clamp that. So we're going to use madf clamp, and we're going to clamp underscore rotate x, And we're going to climb this by the camera rotate X min and camera rotate X max. Then what we want to do is take our camera, and we want to grab the transform of the camera, and then we want to grab the local rotation, and we're going to set that equal to a new quaternion. This is going to be order, and then we're going to use minus m underscore rotate x, and then we're going to set 0 for y. And all right, so now let's go back into Unity, but first let's go ahead and call our camera rotate x. All right, so let's head back into Unity and see if this works. So let's go back into our script, and what we want to do is set the minimum to -90 and +90. Now let's go ahead and hit play, and you can see that when you can now look up and down, and we can't look behind us anymore. You can only just look all the way straight up, right? Because we're clamping this 90 and -90. So we can look up, so we can look around us, we can look up and down. All right, so next thing I'm going to do is include functionalities for capturing your mouse and releasing it. Let's implement our mouse lock subroutine. So we're going to do a private void mouse lock, and here we're going to lock the mouse. Sure. All right, so we're going to say that if is mouse locked, then I'm going to set cursor lock state equals to cursor lock mode locked, and we could just return here. Or we're going to set it to known. So I'm going to say cursor lock state equals cursor lock state, and let's do known. All right. So what we can do now is call this in the awake. So we're going to say mouse look. All right. So let's head back into Unity. And what we want to do is enable mouse lock down here, and then we can play, and we can see that our mouse is locked, and if we hit the escape we can get it back again, but then again if we click in the game tab it should lock again. All right, and if we uncheck it, then it should be set to known, so that means that we don't lock our mouse, we can still see our mouse. Sometimes this might be good for places where, for example, you can call that if you needed to do some UI stuff on the screen where you actually need to see your mouse, so you click, you know where to click, you can actually unlock it there. All right, so that works. That function can be used for little different things. Now let's go ahead and stop this. And we're going to work on the field of view next. So this is going to be zooming in and out, right? So the field of view, for example, if we were to go ahead and increase it, you can see that we can see farther, and if we decrease it, we can, everything is closer. So we can zoom in and out, and we're going to add this functionality using our mouse scroll wheel. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, guys, let's go ahead and add in a subroutine for camera zoom. We'll do a private void camera zoom. All right. I'm first going to say that is field of view enabled, and if we enable it, then we should be able to zoom. This is if you're creating some type of game where you need to actually zoom in and out. And what we're going to do is use our mouse wheel. We're going to say that if, right, m underscore mouse scroll is greater than 0f. Right, let me just put a dot here. Then we're going to do one thing, and you can copy this logic here and reverse it. So if it's less, right? Okay. If the field of view plus the increment, so this is going to be the field of view increment, is greater or equal to camera field of view min and m field of view plus increment field of view is less than or equal to the camera field of view max, then we need to go ahead and increment the field of view. So we're going to say that m underscore field of view is going to be plus equal to field of view increment. And then we're going to take our camera, so we're going to say m underscore camera dot field of view is going to equal to m underscore field of view. All right, and what we can do is now is just copy this logic for when mouse scroll is less than 0f. So in this case, what we're going to do is say minus, because we're decrementing, and minus, and we're going to minus this. All right, and then we can call our camera zoom. Let's go to our script, and we're going to enable field of view, and for the mean I'm going to leave it at 90, and for the max I'm going to pick a value, let's say 115, and to make this kind of smoother I'm going to set this at 0.5, so it's a nice increment value for that. Now let's go ahead and hit play. Alright, and now if we just go ahead and scroll, you guys can see that we're able to zoom. And so zoom out and zoom in. Alright guys, this will be it for this tutorial, and as always, thank you guys for watching.